We knew about Devin for a couple of years. The thing that I liked about him is, he was a former D-end. He's an engineering student at the University of Windsor, team captain. So I liked all of his athletic traits. He has size, speed, and brains, and a work ethic. He has leadership ability and can galvanize a team.
They're a program that's built on grit and toughness. That's what we wanted to get with a player like Devin. He personifies the grit and the toughness. And he was part of a rebuild. He was part of a situation where he came in where the team was struggling and helped lead them to be one of the best defenses in the league, if not the country. So we're very excited about the pick. Devin's got a tremendously high ceiling, and we feel really good about bringing him into our organization for a lot of reasons.
He's a Windsor guy. He'd like to play closer to home, and we're the closest team to him. And I saw him at the Buffalo Pro Day, and we both talked about that. And he made a point of saying, hey, I'd like to play for the Hamilton Ticats. And that's the stuff that you want to hear going into a pick, but especially at pick 2, it's important for me. I don't want to fail on high draft picks, and there's calculated risks and things happen. But in terms of work ethic, brains, pedigree, it's all there. So I expect he's going to be at the Hamilton Ticat for a long time and do some great things with the organization.
So Isaiah is a guy that we targeted very early on in the draft, and just another high character individual. He's played a lot of high level football at Boise State, and what really attracted us to him was, when his coach left to go to the BYU program, he wanted to bring Isaiah along with us, and that talks a lot about Isaiah's character. We feel like Isaiah, having played some really high level football, has an opportunity to come in and contribute to our football team immediately.
He plays physical. There's a brand of football that he plays. That we desire in our organization. And again, with Kyle Sampson on the defensive line, Brubaker and Owen Hubert here that we signed out of McMaster University, we felt the position fit was there. And I think the things that turned the tables for us, he's a well-spoken, smart individual. I do like winners, and I do like guys that have had experience of turning things around. And when he was available to us there, we felt it was a great pick for us and a good opportunity for him too. Well, Arvin, we weren't planning on drafting Arvin simply because we didn't think he'd be available. So when the 3rd round opened up and he was on the board, we had him as a highly ranked offensive lineman, and I was, we hit the pause button because we were going to continue trying to build depth on the defense and special teams. But we talked about it, and it was like, well, if it's next year's draft, we're going to have to draft one, and I would take him in the 1st round.
He's a guy that we took a look at early in the process and thought he was one of the most technical offensive linemen in the draft. We had Arvin graded very high on the offensive line board, and when he fell to us at 21, it was kind of a no-brainer for us to take him. We felt really good about his character as well. His interview was tremendous at the Combine, comes across as a very mature individual, a guy that can be a leader in the organization, and a guy that I think will continue to develop and become a great player for us over the next couple of years. Mac's tough. He's gritty. He's a leader. He's a guy that really popped as we went through the process. For me, having spent a lot of time in the OUA, I certainly know the OUA players very well. Max spent some time at York and had a very productive career at York early on, and played as a freshman there. Transferred back to Alberta. Definitely recognized the name when I came across his name during the process, and he had a great season last year, 2nd team All-Canadian, and the way he plays the game, he plays with that grit and toughness that I think we've come accustomed to here in Hamilton, and it's really the kind of defense that we want to build here. The team that's built on that toughness, that physicality. Mac definitely brings that.
While he played boundary half, we felt like he was always around the football no matter where the ball was. He wasn't a guy that just, would be effective where the plays came his way. You can fall asleep as a boundary half or a DB if there's no action. He found the action, and that stood out for us on tape. There's a physical component to his game that I found attractive and thought it would fit with what we want to build here and improve upon here. Ty, we interviewed at the draft. Again, I believe he's a Can West All-Star, productive player for them. But when we saw him at the Combine is where, he moved up our draft board, and he left our interview as well. And we were all in there, and we all looked at each other, and I was like, I want that guy on our football team. He has such great energy and a great story. Came from a small town, team first guy, worker. He stole reps the whole combine. He was always seemed to be jumping reps, and I count those things to see who avoids getting in and who shies out of situations. And again, for me, he's got some grit. He's going to grow as a football player. I'm sure Casey Crehan will enjoy working with him, but I just felt he'd be a great teammate and a guy that we could bring along.
He's a guy, we loved his film coming out. Very productive player for Alberta. Again, another tough, gritty player. Ty's a guy that just brings that toughness to the game. He's a great run defender, and we really feel like he's got an opportunity to develop into a great defensive lineman for our organization. Ronan, again, I talked to Coach Nill about him very early on in the process. And, Coach Nill's a guy I've known for a long time. He recruited me back when I was coming out as a player. So we've had a relationship for a long time, and I trust what Coach has to say. We really feel like we got a guy that can come in and make an impact on teams and have an opportunity to earn a job, on the special teams side of things. Tested extremely well. He's a great athlete, and he's a guy that we think can make a lot of plays for us in the specialty teams game.
Well, our scouting department was really big on him. He was one of the premier special teams player in Canada West, and again, a guy that has the size and the speed and special teams awareness that we felt he could compete and help us in that role.
Jake's a great pickup. Jake's a guy we came across at the Invitational Combine. Hasn't played a ton for Manitoba, but really excelled this year in growing into a starting role at the field corner position. Definitely feel like he can play that position or move to free safety.
I had a chance to see the Manitoba Bisons play, obviously, because I was working in Winnipeg, and at 6'4", he stands out on a football field, and he flies around. He's relentless. He's still going to grow as a player. He's smart. Wants to do well, and moves incredibly well for a guy with his length.
He's got some amazing measurables. He's extremely quick, very athletic, great feet for a man his size. And coming in at 6'4", he brings that length. But the thing that really stood out for us was his physicality. He loves to hit, loves to get down and dirty in the box, and definitely can set a tone from a physicality standpoint. Yeah, Nate was a guy that we thought would go earlier in the draft, frankly. And he's a guy who played a lot of high-level football at Arkansas State. Started off at Princeton. So a very smart individual, a guy who's very cerebral in his game, but brings a level of toughness to it as well. Great run defender, had a very productive junior season, played a ton of snaps for them as a senior, and we, felt very lucky to have the opportunity to draft him at 8. He's got a chance to really improve our defensive line and make us very stout against the run.
But we love Nate. We loved his interview. We had him highly ranked. He's got power, productive player at Arkansas State, transferred from Princeton, Ontario guy. We just felt he would fit into the team. He's got some power and some stuff that other guys don't have. We were surprised that he was still available, and for us it made, a ton of sense. We were going to take him earlier. Why wouldn't we take him in the 8th?